23rd Board of Supervisors meeting. Everyone got their mics on. We'll have Pastor Roger Krieger, Rural Creek Pentecostal Church, lead us in prayer, followed by the pledge. Everyone stand, please.
I know you don't want to listen to me this morning, but I do thank you for the opportunity to be here. I don't get to do it enough. And recently I was at a ball game, and Steve Bayer told me my pen, ink pen, was a lifesaver to him. His run dry one day, and he said he saw this one laying around. I left you a pen and a little sweetness for the day, and thought I'd just leave you a thought before I pray today. My prayer today is that each and every one of you will speak so that others will want to listen to you, and that you will listen so that others will want to speak to you. Let's pray. Father, we do thank you, Lord, for your many, many blessings upon us. We thank you for this day today. And Father, I do thank you, Lord, for this Board of Supervisors that lead and direct the county and many of the projects and things that they do, dear Father. I pray today that you'll give them a mind of wisdom, and Father, that they'll do exactly as we've stated, that they'll listen carefully, speak softly, and work together for the kingdom of God. So Father, bless them throughout the day today. And Father, I promise we'll praise you for it, for we humbly ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor.
Yes, sir.
We do have a quorum, and we're in session. We'll do citizens' time. Ms. Lawson.
Okay, first on the list we have David Jones. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's David Jones. I live here in the town district. I just left the town meeting last night. We've had an issue going on for several years that I've been trying to get addressed, and finally they passed that last night, got the town sticker for businesses. That way they can be identified. Most of that problem's coming out of the county, because the county has no way to identify who they are. There's no business license. You've got people that are just waking up today saying, hey, I'm going to come out and I'm going to become a business. Well, without a business license, without a business sticker, there's no way to identify them. The town has closed that loophole now. And I'm here this morning hoping that y'all will hear and listen to what I'm saying to try to help close that. Now the county and, of course, Marion are the two biggest places that have this problem. So basically what I'm saying, if I want to do this, all I've got to do is wake up, drive out, hook up to a truck and trailer, and I can evade taxes. I can go in the county jurisdiction, and there's no way to track me down. I can just be another truck with equipment. How can you tell me any different from the next guy? You walk outside, you can't point my vehicle out from the next guy parked out there. That's kind of my point. Most of y'all don't know me. So if I show up at your house and I speak to you and I come to your house and you give me a job, I break something, I make a mistake, how do you track me down? You don't have any credentials because we're not asking for those. There's no way to show it. My family business has been going since 1969. I've opened up a secondary business. That way I'm not working with all my brothers and sisters in that business. And there's a lot of things that are just not happening. And as this town evolves, we need to close these loopholes. Wick County's only going to get bigger. And, you know, we can help clean up the community by making sure people do their jobs correctly, making sure there's a business license. I think y'all have a tax ticket in the county or something. That's not helping. There's no paperwork to prove who these guys are. A business license would be a much more efficient way to do this. I know it's you already have a system, but I think that system's broke. Putting a sticker that the town is already designing in your window with a 3-digit number that would register to my business would be a quick solution. That way, somebody drives by, if an officer wants to know if I'm a licensed business, he sees that sticker just like an inspection. The town's doing it. The town thinks it's a great idea. Mary Beth Taylor liked the idea. I spoke with her first. And I would appreciate y'all considering this, because we don't need to, and like I told them last night, they were talking about a 15-yard minimum. I said, well, if you're gonna do that, I said, I can pay my bills completely off of 15 yards. I said, $3,000 a month would be an easy income off of 15 yards. If you allow somebody to evade taxes on 15 yards, then I can pay my house payment, my vehicle payments, my insurance, my lights, everything, and buy everything I need. So I think kids should be allowed to go out and work in the county without any issues, and that adults should be paying taxes. Somebody, if we continue to allow this, then who's gonna be paying taxes? Everybody, right now, every time you go out the door, you see a new mowing service, new landscaper. But they're not really landscapers, they're just somebody that walked out the door that absolutely has no clue what they're doing. They're not knowledgeable in these jobs, but they're doing them. I do give them a thumbs up for the work ethics, but I don't give them a thumbs up for evading taxes. So I hope y'all consider this, and I will continue to follow up and try to see where you stand on this. Thank you for your time.
Not very often somebody comes in and says, I'm for putting a new tax in place. Thank you very much.
Well, it needs to be done. We need to pay, and like I told them, I don't mind buying those stickers. I've talked to other large landscaping companies, and they said that they would be more than happy to pay for those stickers. A lot of them are thanking me for coming forward to do this. I'm also proposing to the town of Whitfield a permanent brush disposal sticker, and like I told them, I said, charge us. We don't mind paying, because we own property in the county, and that's another issue. We've got a blue-collar guy, got a $300,000 home, and it's just eating that guy alive. Next door, we've got a piece of property that's brush disposal. Can you imagine how irritating that is to that guy? I'm not the only person. Every landscaper owns a piece of property somewhere in the county jurisdiction with brush disposal. If we can get that problem fixed, that property can now be developed into housing, which will make the property value go up in the county, opposed to riding it in the dirt. We need to make all these things change. And you want the property value for that guy that owns that $300,000 home to go up, because our property's riding it in the dirt right now. But what do we do? Trying to get the town on board with that sticker, but if we don't get the town on board with that sticker, then people are gonna continue buying property, paying $20,000 for a piece of land just to put a compost pile on. Because there is, and then of course they say, well, you can go to the town office and you get to buy a brush disposal. Well, you're allowed to have brush this tall on your trailer. Do you know a landscaper that's gonna put brush this tall on his trailer? I don't. He would be doing, it would take him a month to do one tree. We like to have brush that tall on our trailer. That way we can get the job done at the most efficient cost for the customer and for ourselves.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next, we have Linda Meyer.
Good morning. I was curious about, have we got any information about our feedlot issue in Speedwell?
I'll be glad to give you a little bit of update on it. Mr. Spraker has been talking to DEQ and VDAX on the issue, following up. They indicated they're continuing to monitor it. I asked specifically for what you asked for, any type of air reports or water quality reports or anything like that. I have not got an answer back on that, but I don't know that they're going to provide anything to us. They're just doing their spot monitoring during events and things like that.
But there's no paperwork to back this up.
There's nothing on the air report, but I'm still trying to get any of that information for you that we can.
Okay, great, thank you. Last Friday, I had an issue and I needed to call the non-911 number for the sheriff's office. So there's two numbers in the telephone book, the 18 telephone book, which I called, and it rang and rang and rang and rang on both numbers, like forever. And I'm like, I didn't want to call 911. So anyway, on my way out that evening, I stopped at the sheriff's office, and there was a lady there, and she said, oh, I should have been calling 223-6000. That's not what's in the telephone book, and there's no answering machine on the two numbers that are in the telephone book. So we need to either scratch them or update them, one way or the other, because, I mean, I'm old school, so I don't have a smartphone and that kind of stuff, so I use my telephone book. And in the 2019, those numbers are listed, not the 6,000. So it's very, very inconvenient, and people don't know, and so on. Plus, then I also noted we used to have a government offices page in the 2018 phone book. That has been eliminated in CenturyLink 2019 phone book, to the point that they even have, under government offices, Ann Crockett Stark is listed. That's kind of sad, because she hasn't been there, what? Has it been 5 years or 6 years? And they're still putting her name under government offices. So we need to get on the stick, and so people could know if they need to call the sheriff's office, either get an answering machine for those 2 numbers that are listed, or make sure that the 6,000 number is posted, or any other number. And then, of course, I was wondering what other numbers on this list don't work anymore. So we really need to update it and get on the stick for 2020 if they publish a phone book. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that come in and wants to speak that didn't sign in? Here none, we'll move right along, and payment of invoices.
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, pay the invoices. Anyone that have any they want to pull out and discuss? Have a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye. Minutes of previous meeting of July 9.
Make a motion, we approve the meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for the minutes. Are there any corrections or discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Under old business, what do we have?
Don't have anything listed in there. I will bring up, we still do have a few appointments left open. I did send you all a recent name on that by email that you all can consider. Don't have to take action on it today, but that's the only thing I know that we have under old business.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bear.
Since he brought that up, I have one for the Recreation Commission. Isn't that what I needed? Butch Brewer. Yeah, that's what I said, but Butch said he would do it, and he's got a granddaughter that's starting into the rec league, so I think he would be a good one.
Bruce would be good. Bruce would be good.
So I'll make a motion that we appoint Butch Brewer to the Recreation Commission. from
I'll
Springville
second.
District.
Okay, we have a motion and a second from Mr. Butch Brewer to be put on the Recreation Commission. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You don't have to do a voice vote on that, do
Yes,
you?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right, moving right along. Treasurer report. I see the treasurer with us this morning, smiling. I want to hear how much money you got out of people in Rural Creek Saturday.
On Saturday, well, we did fairly well. The depot auction grossed a little over 10,000, so it was a good event
Good
for us.
day.
Good event. Okay, well, in your board packet for today, you have your June fiscal year and financial statement. And it reflects a total of, in the consolidated account, of $58,277,302. And of that, the balance in the general fund is $36,253,600. So we've had quite a bit of decrease from May, but a lot of departments were trying to get our year-end expenses in and get our last-minute purchases to exhaust our budget line items. So a lot of that contributes to that decrease. Kind of overall, if you looked down through your report, and of course I concentrate more on the tax side of things than some of the others, just because of, we're constantly pursuing the real estate personal property taxes. But as you notice, our percentages compared to what was budgeted, we pretty much in every category except for one, and we missed it by a hair, exceeded 100% collections. And again, that's just what it was budgeted. But for a comparison to what was billed, I had reported to you at the last day meeting that I was at in June that our collections were around 97%. We're still at that percentage. We've increased just a little bit, but it was only a difference of June 26th to June 30th that I'm reporting for you from now or from then until now. So, but our collections are continuing. With the end of the month coming up, it's gonna start picking up a little bit more this month. But be working with Mr. Southers and, of course, Mrs. Barker's office is as well, getting ready for the tax bills because it'll be here before we know it. So we'll be beginning our cycle again. So, but does anyone?
How those numbers compare with previous years when?
Well, I took all that home last night because I didn't have anything else to do, and I was taking a look at it. Really not factoring in 2017 and 2018 taxes because, you know, I had fiscal year in 17 and 18 reports, and then now our fiscal year in 19. But going across the board, we've really decreased a lot of those balances that were owed. We've been able to cover those, especially the, let me get my page flipped over here. Especially on, of course, with real estate, it started showing up significantly in the 2000, I think it was 2007, maybe 2008 tax year. From those years coming forward, we've been really able to decrease a lot of those balances that were outstanding there. Personal property has really picked up, and a lot of that primarily I'm going to contribute to our extra efforts as far as putting on the DMV holds, because we manually worked a lot of our outstanding accounts that we had to place holds on those folks to try to get those cleaned up. So I think that's a lot of it on the personal property side. But we have been pursuing judgments. I had court yesterday. So some of the balances that are shown for June, you know, have decreased quite a bit because we start with our high balance accounts primarily. So that's what a lot of those were yesterday. And out of approximately 30, I think all had paid, but about 5 or 6. So, you know, we're continuing to work on that and just kind of put forth the other extra efforts to collect all that we can. So, but anyone have any question on the financial statement before I guess we get into anything else? I kind of took off on everything else all at one time because I got all excited.
I will comment on the personal property I'm very appreciative of, and the work they did on debt set off. Of course, y'all remember y'all appropriated some funds out of their collection last year to help out with that. I think it's the first year in a while we've had our personal property up, and it's about $100,000 above what was budgeted. And I appreciate the work that they've done on that, collecting that amount.
And our DMV stop fees increased significantly as well. We and primarily because of that. Of course, the money that's in that account, keep in mind, DMV gets $25 of that. That's their charge. The county gets $5 for our efforts on those holds. So $5 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're collecting the tax bills and clearing that out, the $5 really doesn't matter one way or the other. But we had tremendously exceeded the amount that was budgeted there. We'd actually budgeted $25,000, and our collections were almost $59,500. So we really went hard at that. So hopefully I can keep up the good work for the next fiscal year as well, that we're not going to be decreasing there. Did you send them the
Yes.
additional information there?
The delinquent real estate I sent to everyone. If everyone needs a paper copy of it, that's just one right there, but it's about 75 pages on the one and 28 on the other.
Didn't print it, yeah. I'll give these to anyone that may want it, but I had sent the information up for the packet, and things just happened that it wasn't included, but it's okay. It can still be taken care of. Let me get my papers changed here. Of course, the board always requests a delinquent real estate list as of June 30th. And normally what you folks have been voting on is publishing it in the Withville Enterprise. And last year, I had also requested that you consider publishing the personal property list online. And actually, again, I would request that you consider publishing both lists online. As Mr. Bayer mentioned, between the two lists, you're looking at about 100 pages. But the real estate delinquent as of June 30th totaled a little over $494,000, and that's tax and penalty. And then personal property delinquent totaled a little over $424,000. So we're looking at about $919,000 that was outstanding. Now, some folks have paid. I'm not sure if you want to go ahead and publish the list as of June 30th, or if you would be interested in an updated list as of whatever date, today or Friday, or whatever date you want. I can print an updated one for publication, but that's entirely up to you all. That's your vote to make that decision. But does anyone need a paper copy that they want to look at? Mr. Hale, do you want paper copy?
No.
I know you like paper better than computer.
Has something to do with age, I guess, Laura.
I'm a paper person too. I would rather have it on paper.
We do appreciate your efforts to increase the revenue, because if we keep up and collect the taxes that are due, as you know, we don't have to add new taxes.
Right.
And we appreciate your efforts.
And our system changes helped with that some too. I mean, we have had struggles with it, and we're still learning, as I tell you, I think every time that I'm here. But it has, again, allowed us to do more, that we can locate more tax, that we can try to get a lot of this resolved and try to, I'm working with taxpayers on payment plans a lot, ask for payment plans, and I don't mind issuing a payment plan. I just ask that they, in good faith, follow through with it. If they're setting that up, make the payment. If something comes up and they can't pay by the date that I've set for it to be due, within a day or two, I'm okay with that, or at least call. I'll work out something else with you. But a lot of folks we have in payment plans, so we're trying to help folks any way that we possibly can. So
Y'all send second notices now
we send
for
delinquent.
people that just lost it or forgot about it or didn't get billed?
Of course, our original bills come out in the fall. We send delinquent notices out generally the 1st of April is when we send those out. And then the balance that's on there is what is due by April 30th. But that's the last of our notices that we send out. We don't do what I'll label a third notice.
If you all would like to do like you did last year, I would recommend a motion to advertise both on the county website and to publish the real estate in the local newspaper.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for publishing delinquent taxes. Any discussion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
And I'll ask for final guidance on that. A call or question, do you want to post it as of, should you go ahead and print after today's meeting what hasn't been paid and do that list?
I would,
You
I would
want
post an updated.
Updated through
yeah.
today. So what I'll do is, through the close of business today, I'll run the reports at the end of today. And that way it'll have everything paid through today's date, and then you'll have that updated one.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone have anything else? Okay. And one last note, last meeting I was here, the budget wasn't quite approved yet, so I didn't jump my guns, but thank you all for the pay increases for my 2 county-funded positions in the office. I am proud to say I'm finally fully staffed again. I had my final person to begin employment last week, so we're back to a full staff, so hopefully we can proceed with a lot more things. But thank you all for that. It does mean a lot because those positions, the pay really needed to be considered, and I do appreciate you all considering that and raising those for those folks. But thank you. You all have a good day.
Thank you. Ms. Barker, you have something for us?
I don't have anything unless somebody has questions.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got questions, Ms. Barker? Here none, anyone here from the sheriff's office for sheriff's report? Okay. Next, we have a report from the water committee.
Yes, I'm here for that. On July the 16th, 2019, the Water Committee met and makes the following recommendations. First is to proceed with the purchase of a Caterpillar generator set for the Fort Chiswell pump station in the amount of $96,462.07. The purchase will be made through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing.
Need action on that, Mr. Chairman. That is for the generator, the transfer switch, everything associated with that.
And that's grant funded by how much?
We've got, I want to say the $115,000 is what was in the budget for that, in the VDM grant, county funds on that.
Okay, and I read that grant, there's a lot of stringent reporting. Are we keeping up with that?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So it is recommendation from the committee, does not need a second or any discussion. Mr. Bear, for the public that's here, which I'm glad to see so many people here, explain what that pump quickly does for
Yeah,
us.
basically, there is a pump station across from Fort Chiswell High School that is on the main water line that runs from from the New River Regional Water Treatment Plant tanks setting up on Raper Ridge. Water runs by there by gravity, but then the pumps there pump the rest of the water from there into part of our system and more importantly into the town of Whitfield system serving Progress Park as well. So one of the weak links has been not having a backup generator there. Town of Whitfield can still provide water out of theirs in the situation. This provides us a good backup generator power to be able to pump water into Whitfield in the event of power outage.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Here none, all in favor. Do we need a roll call vote?
Yes, sir.
Roll call vote. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
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 Vice Chair votes aye.
All right, second one is approving an account adjustment for Josh and Heather Lewis at 466 Broadway Road, Whitfield. Releasing the judgment and writing off any account balance. No signed contract existed and the residence is outside of the 350-foot requirement for connection. The account balance as of July the 2nd of 2019 was $11,050.88.
Mr. Chairman, this is just an account, and it dates back to the early 2000s that was out there when they ran a water line. They started charging as residents for the connection fee and for the non-user fee. It has since that time been determined that it is actually not located within, they're not connected to the water, we're not connected to the water. There was no agreement signed by them to connect to the water, and is outside of our mandatory connection ordinance. So therefore, a lot of this is penalty and interest over those years. So the request is, since there is nothing that required them to pay that fee, just to clean this one off the book.
Is there any discussion? Come from the committee, doesn't need a second. All in favor?
Do a roll call vote.
Mr. Bond?
Aye.
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 Vice Chair votes aye.
Number 3 is to proceed with an application for financial assistance through the Virginia Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund. Due date is 7/26 of 19. Inspections and smoke testing has identified issues in the Austinville requiring attention.
Mr. Bear?
Basically, just getting approval to proceed with this grant application. As many of you are aware, the Austinville system is an old system over there. There's been situations of infiltration, pipes with roots grown to them and other things, and is in need of repair. So this is just actions for the staff to go ahead and make application to the revolving loan fund. The engineering firm is finalizing the cost estimates to do this. That way we can go ahead
matching grant or,
It is for primarily be a loan, but we're gonna put in for any grant loan availability.
okay, thank you. Come from committee, doesn't need a second or any discussion. Hear none, call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Before you go into the next agenda item, I would ask for you all to make a revision on your agenda, enter into item H, county attorney time, before we do the next committee reports.
Boy, get him off the clock. So moved.
So if you will just start with that, we'll start with Mr. Farley.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend we go into closed session to talk about potential litigation on bid proposals as well as the service district. So we can discuss those issues in closed session.
Your recommendation, do we have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion to go into closed session, I have a second.
Second.
Under what qualification you said is legal?
2.23711A7, legal counsel for legal advice on transportation service districts and bid process.
Okay. Roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 Vice Chair votes aye. We are in closed session. Have a motion to come out of closed session.
Second.
Have a motion to second come out of closed session. You need a voice vote on that. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. You want to read the declaration, one of you?
Whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors that such a meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge only, public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors.
A vote? Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, I'm just checking here, I was reading, and I may have missed, I heard him read that, did someone make a motion to adopt that in a second?
They did.
I'll second it.
I may have missed it, thank you.
Multitasking, Steve. You want to do the construction committee report since it was in that order and get that out of the way?
Yes, sir.
All right.
The Appalachian Regional Exposition Center Construction Committee met on July the 18th, 2019, took the following action. The Apex Construction Committee recommends rejecting all bids and placing the utility barn out for bid again with revised plan and bid documents to reflect the following. A, bid a 32,000 square foot building only. B, remove asphalt floor and construct with a dirt floor only. Show location of borrow area if needed. C, indicate floor to be flat but may slope from base elevation level to lower elevation level, not exceed more than 20 inches in elevation changes. Install French foundation drains to the footer on the inside and outside. E, decrease height of cement board liner panel to 4 feet. F, address electrical service to building not specified in previous plan.
Committee doesn't need a second. Is there any clarification or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would request on item F, that we do clarify which, way we are going with that, so Mr. Bowers can work with, the HDH to include on the plans. There are two ways to address this. Number one is to set a new pole by AEP up adjacent to the existing pole. They have indicated an estimated cost to us of $5,000 to do such. We would then have to install through county forces, a conduit about 330 feet from that pole over to the building. The cost for that, an estimated $2,200, not including the labor cost to do that. Alternatively, the building was originally designed with electrical running into the building, and it has conduits that run out of the building over to the barn. However, it would require the purchase of a transformer to step the power down from what's inside the barn to run over through the existing conduits over to the barn area. The estimated differences in cost, the AEP cost and the conduit is about $7,200. The cost for the transformer, for us to purchase our own transformer and wiring, would be about $5,200. The one thing is, when we buy the transformer, it is our transformer, and if it goes out in 10 years, if it goes out in 20 years, we have to replace that transformer. The other is AEP's transformer. If it goes out, they replace it. At the same time, you do still pay additional fees and charges in your electrical bill for the purchase of that in the process. And with the original large transformer that they set up on the site already, it already had included the additional loads and calculations and the repayment of it. So we are fine to go either direction as the board recommends going on that. But we would like to include that on the plan so all bidders know exactly how electricity is coming into the building. Anything you want to add, Mr. Bauer?
The decision needs to be made today so that it can be incorporated on the plans, because if you go with the AEP pole, you need to drop in a service box on the building, and if you go with the current electrical setup through the Apex building, you'll have a service disconnect, which is, there's a difference there. So those need to be incorporated on the plan for the builder to know what they are going to provide.
Right now, the plan calls for a 400 amp disconnect, and then the panels feeding off of that.
The plans currently call for a 400 amp meter box.
Right, with the disconnect.
Yes. But you would be able to do away with the meter box portion of that if you go with the Apex building's
Well,
electricity.
the thought process that went into that was because this is a separate revenue producing building, that you would need in the future for the operation to know what it costs to operate that building. It would be metered, which we have that on many site locations for county buildings. It was to not lump all of the electrical service is the thought process, and you're right, you can go either way. You can not know what that barn's costing to operate, or you can know what it's costing to operate.
You have a recommendation?
Go with the meter so you can know what it's costing to operate
I
that
don't know
barn.
what you're talking about, that's the reason I'm asking this man. I don't have a clue what you're talking.
Mr. Hale is right. If you want to know the individual cost of that particular building, then having that individual meter is advantageous from that perspective. However, if you're talking about the potential for a long cost overhead, then it would be better to go with the Apex building electricity that's already there. You're also getting three-phase power, so if you ever wanted to upgrade in the future, putting in fans, motors and stuff that will operate more efficiently off the three-phase for that building, then you've already got it the way it's designed now with the Apex. Versus we go off the pole, you're going to get single phase there, which wouldn't be as efficient. So and you don't have, you're taking a risk on the transformer, you own it, can recover that cost through not having a meter base that you're gonna have to pay out there. So if you don't have an event out there, you don't use electricity, you're still going to pay, a minimal power bill for that facility. So, and those are some of the pros and cons of, both arguments.
Take a lot of months to pay in that building, paying that utility bill to pay for that
To pay for the
transformer.
transformer initially. But
Mr.
then you're
what are
also
your thoughts
coming in
on-
$2,000 cheaper too.
Fans, is there an advantage of the three-phase power for potential ventilation issues?
Yeah, and to hold the cost down, they're gravity ventilators with, I think there's 10 doors in the building. It's a barn. It's gonna have natural ventilation. It has minimum insulation at the roof level, not in the walls. But yeah, someday, if you get rich and famous, you could say, let's put some fans in there.
Well, being you the chairman of this committee, I think you ought to tell us which way you want to go. To ride on that, because
Well, I have. I've said that since this is a separate revenue-producing building with good management, in the future, you're gonna need to know what it costs to operate that building. With a meter, you know what your cost is. If you're renting it 15 days a year, you got numbers, you got cost. Without the meter, it gets lumped in with the big building, and you can't analyze what you're really spending on that building to know what your cost should be and what your revenue should be. This is a revenue-producing building on the livestock side. It needs to make money. Are you more confused, or are you better off?
ride most of them in.
So Mr. Hale is recommending setting the additional pole and running the conduit to the building.
With Appalachian Power.
With Appalachian Power would set the pole, staff would run the conduit to the building.
But I'll add that in there for help instead of what's on here.
But it said address it, and that's just clarifying what it is. So we would amend F to do that.
Is there any other discussion?
I don't know, cause I mean, I can see advantages going both ways, so.
I'll make a motion that we amend F as Corey recommended.
Stephen, do you want to clarify what we're really voting on here? That
I think the cleanest thing to do, if you'll withdraw your motion, is for Coy to make what he just read as a motion, with the clarification on F, that electrical service will be addressed with the installation of an AEP pole.
Okay, I'll change that to that.
And I would request a second on that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Have a motion and a second. Mr. Ball?
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
And Vice Chair votes aye. Okay.
Okay. Apex Construction Committee recommends acceptance of RGM's proposal to repair the parking lot with a 2-foot by 2-foot drop inlet, catch basin grate at the low point, piped into downspout drainage approximately 25 feet away. RGM will also remove any wet areas under asphalt and recompact with new material, repave, and slope as necessary. This work will be done at no additional cost.
Committee doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion? Hear none.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Is that the end of the committee report?
That's all mine.
Thank you, Coy. Since we, You wanna move on to budget committee, or do you wanna hear?
Budget committee's fine.
That was part of the question. Since, Ms. Smith is here, do you wanna let her, so she can go back to work? She got any kind of report?
With the chairman, sir, that'd be fine.
Christina, you got 10 minutes. I'll let you get back to work. Come on up, tell us what you got to say.
I think you just asking if you want to give an update on any of the activities down there.
I can, absolutely.
Speak
I-
up closer to the mic.
I hate this with a passion, but I would much rather be behind the scenes, like getting everything set and fixed and moving. And next time, if you want me to do this, I'll come with a prepared report. Basically, in the past 2 months since I've been there, I'm working very hard and fast to build all of the processes that we need to manage the facility. A lot of what Joe was just talking about is a lot of the groundwork I've been doing, going back and reviewing all of the old bills, all of the financial parts to see if we are adequately charging people that are running the facility to make sure that it is turning some sort of profit. Venues historically are in between profit. The profit really comes if you promote all of your own events. That's another thing that we've been working on, is making ourselves the promoters instead of having outside promoters come. Just yesterday, I sent out about 20 different contracts and estimates and various other legal things in order to fill our fall calendar. We have a concert series that will run in August, and when I get back, I will begin promoting that pretty heavily. Trying to think of what else we've been doing. There's a lot. We've been doing a whole lot since the three of us came on board. We have a pretty full fall calendar, which does include events that are promoted by outside organizers. Miss Ring is coming back. She's back on our calendar. We have the Millbridge demo, which is back on our calendar again. So we have local promoters, we have promoters that are from outside of the area, and then we are aggressively building several of our own events so that we are the promoter and we keep all of that revenue here in the county. Trying to think of what else. Do you all have any, it's probably easier if you all have any questions for me, because I can just ramble about this building all day long. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address those.
Anyone have any questions? They want clarification?
When are we gonna get these events on the calendar? Because every time I look, there's nothing on the website, except for MMA,
That is intentional.
to the end of the year.
There is, it's a personal rule of mine that I will not put anything public until I have the signed contract in hand. And that is solely because I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. If someone has a specific artist that is their favorite, I will never post it or even remotely talk about it beyond our office until that contract is in hand and the deposit has been paid, solely because I don't want anything. There are so many things that can pop up in the process, either on our end or on theirs, that I don't ever want to have it reflect negatively on us or the promoter. If anybody ever had to cancel, which does happen. I've worked a lot of shows that have had to cancel. So just a personal rule of mine is that I will not promote anything until I have the signed contract in hand.
So the only
So-
signed contract you have from now to the end of the year is MMA.
It's with Kim. We have the Millbridge demo is in hand. Trying to think, we have the concert series. All four of those are in hand.
But they're not on the event schedule, is what I'm saying. And
When
you
I
just-
get back to the office is when I will start promoting the four. We just nailed down our last artist yesterday. So I didn't want to do, it's a series, it's a concert series over 4 different Sundays. So I didn't want to leave one hole on that chunk. But that's the biggest reason why, is solely because I'm pretty tight-lipped about what is happening until I know for sure that everything is happening. And I think at the last Board of Supervisor meeting, there was a question about why the summer is so dead in the building. That is an industry standard. Unless you have an outdoor venue, your area is typically pretty dead because everybody's on vacation. Nobody wants to be out in the heat, especially if you don't live in a very temperate climate. And historically, in our industry, we follow the school calendar. So in September, we will be working 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. In October and November, that jumps to 80 and 90-hour weeks. And then December, it goes back down to about 70. And then in January, we decline. So it'll go 70 hours, February will be 70 to 60, and it'll naturally stair step until you hit the summer. And the summer is when we have like normal work hours, where we will actually have 40-hour weeks. And that is solely because nobody wants to come. They don't want to come inside. Part of the benefit of the barn is that it does provide a different revenue stream for us. For people who don't want to come sit inside and would rather be outside, we would now have the ability to pull in several different agriculture-based groups who want to hold their events. We've had to turn down a handful of people from not having the barn that we could have hosted this summer, but because we don't have it yet, we weren't able to accommodate. So we are aggressively filling the calendar, even though it's not industry standard. August is typically not a busy month. However, we are working to try and open the building to the community, because I know people are curious. I know they want to see the inside and see what we're doing. So we are trying to fill the calendar, even though that is not something that our industry typically does. But it's in an effort to simply open the building and show you all like what we've been working on. But that's pretty much all I have for a spur of the moment report.
Right. Sorry, we're surprised, but you did well.
That's okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, you want to get the next item out of the way that we discussed in closed session?
You can, if you would like, Mr. Chairman, we can certainly move forward to that. It is under the county administrator's report.
Well, how long is the budget committee going to take, and that, we'll just get that out of the way too.
Okay, let's do budget.
Stay on track. Budget committee,
Budget Committee met on July 18th, 2019, and recommends the following. Number one, and do you want to do these individually?
I think I would just read out the number and the amount. Yeah.
Okay. Number one is to amend and appropriate the following. A is,
I would just do telecommunications building department in the amount, I'm sorry, not the number.
is Telecommunications Building Department for $1,800. B is Telecommunications Parks and Rec for $1,800. ATL funds,
For all 6 fire departments.
yes, there's $11,272.83 to each of these 6 departments. Speedwell Fire Department reimbursements of $8,700. Max Meadows Fire Department turnout gear for $2,837. And Commonwealth's Attorney computers for $7,953.90.
you want to do those as a group?
I would just do them all as a group. Yes, sir.
Okay, coming from a committee, it doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion or anything you want to discuss individually? Here none, no, roll call vote, Mr. Horny,
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Thank you.
Second item is to approve an increase to Parks and Rec Department petty cash of $100, bringing the total amount of petty cash to $550, split between campground, pool, and P&R department. With the increased days Roaring Tree Pool is open, more cash is needed to break larger bills. The increase of $100 will be used exclusively by the Roaring Tree Pool.
Okay. So need a second, any discussion? Here none, Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is to approve $100 contribution to the Virginia War Memorial Foundation in support of their Speak Their Names campaign. They are requesting $1 for each hero per county who has made the ultimate sacrifice. Wythe County has 97 heroes enshrined at the War Memorial.
Doesn't need a second or any discussion? Here none?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I may just mention during that, they did provide a nice list to us of those 97 names. Mr. Stowers will work as a public information officer to put out information that you all have supported this cause, but also have on our website something to include those names that are listed on the War Memorial with it. So just wanted to share that information
And that's the War Memorial where?
in Richmond.
Okay.
And the next item is to accept the DCJS Victim Witness Grant in the amount of $97,310 and authorize the county administrator to sign the necessary documentation.
Doesn't need a second. Any discussion? Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Next item is to accept the DCJS Local Law Enforcement Block Grant in the amount of $1,184, contingent upon the sheriff agreeing to the special conditions on how the funds are to be managed and authorize the county administrator to sign the necessary documentation.
Doesn't need a second. Any discussion? Mr. Horning?
Aye.
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 I'll abstain.
The chair moves aye.
And item number 6 is to adopt resolution 2019-20 declaring an official intent to reimburse expenditures made in connection with the Apex Center from the proceeds of bonds. This resolution will allow the county to be reimbursed for any expenses in conjunction with the barn made prior to the closing of the bond.
Doesn't need a second. Any discussion? Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 And last item is to direct staff to pursue $1 million bond from rural development for Apex Barn with 40-year term and $2 million bond issuance with VACO BML Finance for Exit 77 development area.
Again, doesn't need a second or any discussion.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Barrett, I don't know if it's just the way it was worded, but I didn't think that when we discussed this, that the $1 million barn, or $1 million bond was going just for the barn, the way it's worded in this package.
It is for, you are correct, it is for the Apex, barn area improvement and improvements. So it is for the Apex Center, was that $1 million. It is worded for the barn only. That was, when you all recommended putting in the budget $1 million in capital improvements, this was what that was going after. So I will agree with you, it is not specifically for the Apex barn, but it is for improvements which would include the barn.
Do these two items have to be voted on together?
They can be voted on separately.
Can I request that?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay, heard the discussion. We will vote on it separately. First being the $1 million capital improvement bond on a 40-year scale, 40-year scale.
Yeah, pursue rural development for a 40-year term, yes.
And Mr. Barry tells me we've negotiated a better interest rate, so we'll vote on that separately.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
The chair votes aye. The $2 million with VML for the site improvements and investment in property or development of the property. Doesn't need a second. Do we have discussion on that? You asked for it to be separate, so is there any clarification? Are you happy with it?
I don't really have any clarification, just, I've said all along, I believe that the area 70, or the Exit 77 development area is the answer to a lot of our problems in the county. I know it's $2 million, but I believe if we can develop this area, it will bring the tax revenue that we need in the county. Hopefully with restaurants.
I would have said it's an opportunity
It
instead
is.
of a problem. Thank you. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
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 And chair votes aye. Is that it?
That's all.
Okay. Moving right along, county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and within my report, if you all don't mind, I will start with item number 5. That is the Lead Mines Estate Staff Street request, included within your package, starting on page 168, is the request letter that was sent from Mr. John Crougy to myself, to you all, and to Jeff Russell with VDOT, and requesting for the county to provide 100% of the funding and contractor oversight as required to make necessary improvements to Staff Street in order that Staff Street, for that street to meet VDOT's 2011 secondary street acceptance requirements and be taken into the state highway system. And the second part of his request was for VDOT to take Staff Street into the Virginia secondary highway system for future maintenance. Mr. Crougy is here with us, so if you all would like, I'll let Mr. Crougy share any information he'd like with you.
Mr. Crutcher, would you please come up?
Morning.
Morning.
I think I've said it all in the written material. I'm here to answer questions more than anything. Assuming everybody received what I sent in.
Yeah, I knew you had requested it, the board formally rejected it, just wanted to give you an opportunity. You did have a very thorough attachment to your letter indicating your reasons and all why. Thank you.
I don't know of a thing I can add. I mean, it's all there.
I don't have any questions, unless you all do.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Crowder, or any comment? Sorry you sat here so long, sir, but
Oh, that's fine.
have,
I want to be sure that I've answered any question that might be asked.
have a good day.
I'll wait until you're finished.
Mr. Chairman, you do have a request that's come before you, and as I indicated to Mr. Crougy, I would recommend that the county deny his request for the county to pay for 100% of the funding. I do recommend that, as action you've already taken, that we apply for revenue sharing. We have submitted the pre-application. We have to have a final application and resolution in by October 1st. We have 6 of those, and we're asking the same of all of those revenue sharing requests, and that is that they either give a commitment that they will provide the funding by October 1st, that they will provide the funding, or that they are petitioning the board for the creation of a transportation service district to repay the board over a 7-year period for 1/2 of the construction cost, the utility cost, and administration fees that go with it. So the only action needed by the board at this time, attorney can correct me if I'm wrong here, would basically be to deny the request, but indicate that we will proceed with the revenue sharing application in conjunction with it.
Do you know what the cost is of doing that?
Yes, sir. Mr. Crowley may remember it off his head better than I do. The construction amount for VDOT is estimate of $150,000 for them to construct the road. So 1/2 of that is $75,000. And then utility relocation costs, we do not have at this time. I am not anticipating any AEP relocation costs. We do not think there should be any CenturyLink or other utility relocation costs, and there may not even be any water relocation costs associated with it.
That seems a little high to me because it ain't over 2/10 of a mile long.
And we only charge the final amount of what's actually charged, so there may not be any utility relocation costs associated with it. And as for VDOT's share of the estimate,
Is there, I'm along with Mr. McRoberts, is there any drainage problems or cut and fill balance that would drive that cost up?
the cul-de-sac at the end drops off the bank there, and there needs to be some material probably brought in or there to make a full-size cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac is, on the plans, drops down over the bank quite a bit. So material would need to be brought in to make the cul-de-sac there.
They haul a whole lot of rock, the amount they want to charge to fix it. That's my belief.
They're professional budgeteers. Any other discussion? Do we have a motion from,
Yes, sir.
you need a motion.
Yes, sir. You need to make a motion to deny the request for Wythe County to 100% fund the project.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, a second.
I'll second. And that is, and pursue.
I will continue pursuing with him for revenue sharing, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion is to deny full funding, but to apply for revenue sharing under a transportation district.
Well, I would leave that out right now. They've got to petition us for a transportation
Okay.
service district.
All right.
So basically, the motion really needs to be to deny the funding at this point in time.
All right. And we have a second from Mr. Lester. Any other discussion? Hear none. Mr. Hornet? Aye.
This is a hard decision because it's in my area, but I'm gonna vote aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Okay.
Staff will continue to work with Mr. Crougy. He did just send a letter in to us that Mr. Fogden and I have reviewed today. We are working on the development of the petition, and we will be bringing that back to you all in the near future as we move forward with the project. First item under my report there is Max Meadows Ball Field lease agreement. The Norfolk Southern came back to us this year and have requested to revise the current lease agreement that we've had out there that's been in existence since 2003. Language doesn't make a tremendous amount of change. It does remove the property on the south side of the railroad tracks, which is not used by the county, has never been used by the county, and taking it away really just takes any liability off of us for that area. Billy would no longer have to mow or trim that area in the process, it would all go back to Norfolk Southern. So this lease takes it back to just being the property of what we'll call the Max Meadows Ball Field, the chain link fenced area up there. Recommendation from staff is to approve the new lease.
Being familiar with it, I'd like for it to add, that does significantly reduce the county's liability since we had that in a lease and it's not a fenced area from the railroad trackage. I think getting that out of the lease reduces our liability considerably. Part of that also was property we've never used, but the railroad had continued to use, so that clarified a little bit. We're not losing anything and may be gaining significantly.
I would recommend a motion to approve and authorize county administrator to sign the Max Meadows Ball Field lease with Norfolk Southern.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 The next one, is, excellent news that we have all been waiting for to get, and I'm glad that we finally have this, documentation. But basically, you have a project agreement in here for VDOT administered local funded project Progress Park. This is the Connector Road project, that we have been working on for many years now, to connect from Nye Road over to the industrial park. This will provide us with a new access road, to serve the park, take away the curves that are iffy and dangerous right there coming out of the town of Whitfield, going out on Peppers Ferry Road. So this new road is just north of the Pepsi facility and runs over and comes in adjacent to our lot number 24. The good news about this is, and the budget document on it shows on page 155 of your agenda, we have a revenue sharing match of $5,242,777 on that project. But more importantly, we were awarded smart scale funding in the amount of $12,857,000 on top of that. So when you take VDOT's match of $5,242,000, that means Wythe County should be getting their new access road at an estimated cost of $23 million for a total cost to the county of $5,242,000. So that is, Mr. Vaughn and myself worked very long, diligently on the application for this. I appreciate all of Mr. Vaughn's work that he spent on working with this. Appreciate the assistance VDOT provided us in helping us along the process. But this is excellent news, and is a good investment for us. And I would recommend that the Board of Supervisors approve the agreement for Wythe County to enter into for project number 9999-098-840.
Okay, you heard the county administrator's recommendation to have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I would like to add in discussion that recent events, we've had very serious accidents on Peppers Ferry Road. Stephen, being from the west end of the county, that'll take a lot of truck traffic off of 121. It'll take a lot of serious truck traffic off of Peppers Ferry Road East that was not designed for truck traffic. This is a real serious safety improvement.
Absolutely.
It's been a long haul, and I'm happy that we got it. Speak volumes in favor of getting it done as quick as possible.
And I will mention Mr. Hale because it has been an issue that was brought up in the original design. The project as designed and as included within their documentation, 2.3 mile two-lane roadway from Ely Trinkle Drive to Nye Road, but most importantly, it does include an unsignalized intersection at Lover's Lane.
Right.
So,
That was gonna be my question is, have we worked out all the particulars about that?
it
Yep.
does include that.
It won't close, it won't be a bridge, it's gonna be a grade crossing.
Good deal.
All right, we have a motion and a second on good news. Any other discussion? Mr. Vaughn?
Aye.
The chair votes aye.
Next item, request approval of the resolution for the Parks and Rec Department's application to the With Bland Foundation for the Shape Up with Sheffy program. It's been a successful program over the last couple of years in Sheffy and had good participation. It gives us, the town has a wonderful Fit for Life program in town, but this gives us an opportunity to have a similar type program on the eastern end of the county for the residents out there.
What was the amount again?
I do not have the amount on here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I would
It's
make
just a
that, mo-
resolution for you all to approve it.
I would make that motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Discussion, does Mr. McRoberts participate in the health program down there?
I will say Mr. McRoberts went to the celebration ceremony they had down there, but I don't know if he participated in the program.
Well, depends on where you stand, that's either in his district or Gene's district.
which side of the road you're on.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
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 Next item, Mr. Chairman, is just informational item, and I shared this with the Budget Committee. And just sharing it with the board members. This is our capital improvement plan. As y'all remember, the Planning Commission held some meetings late last year on the capital improvement plan. One item that I have been working on over the last couple of months has been talking with financial firms about financial planning for Wythe County. Having a firm come in, and one of the firms I've been talking to has done a lot of work with surrounding counties, but basically come in, take an overall view of our financial situations, look at all of our existing debt services sitting out there, see if they have any recommendations of any debt consolidation or reconfiguration that they may have for the county to help plan for where it's going in the future, if there's any interest savings that may be obtained. Also, one of the discussions items has been looking at obtaining a bond rating for the county, which we currently do not have, like a Standard & Poor's rating in the process. It's beneficial, one, when you get the bond rating, not only for when you're going out for bonds, but also, number two, when you're dealing with industrial prospects that are coming in here, they look at your county, and if they see you are a AA county and you have good financial records, and they know you've got the ability yourselves to borrow money that you need for the project or infrastructure or things like that. We know we've got projects on the horizon that still need to be done. We know we're nowhere close to being done with school construction. We've got the next round to look at on it. And in conjunction with this financial information, what they need to look at is not only where we've been and what we've been financing, but where we are going and what are we looking at doing in the future. This is just a draft working document of some of those items. And I want to meet with you all and talk with you all over the next month or so to review these projects, see if there's other projects that need to be listed. And also with the school system, talk with them, because we know in the next 5 years, we're still looking at a Spiller, a Scott, Fort Chisholm schools. I mean, they're next on the renovation cycle. What's the time frame? What's an estimated amount? How do we work that in? Because in order for this firm to come in and sort of give us a financial plan and overview, they need to look at the capital improvements that we've got going forward in that time frame. So I would request that you all review this. I'll be calling to meet with you all and go over it. We've got here in the new agenda later talking about meeting with the school system as a joint meeting to talk with them. But their plan can only be as good as the information we give them for where we are for the next 5 or 10 years out. And I think it's critical time that we do that. We've really cut back on our water and sewer expenditures over the last couple of years to try to catch our breath from a lot of projects and see where the next focus is going to be. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you all have now, but I will be contacting you to discuss these and see what items we want to incorporate in our capital improvements plan.
Okay, thank you.
And, Mr. Chairman, if you will allow me one additional item, I got this in yesterday to add to the agenda. As you are aware, Hurt and Profit has been doing the design work for our Exit 77 development area. And one of the requirements they had, or one of the things they were required to do with their discussions with VDOT, was a traffic impact analysis. We were able to get some assistance on that from VDOT, from some work that they were doing on the numbers. But both Hurt and Profit and VDOT have both called me to advise me that the work that they had did not include Saturday traffic. And one of the requirements that need to be studied at the intersections was Saturday traffic. And Hurt and Profit has talked with the in-house and a couple firms about how to do this. And they recommend an amendment to our agreement for them to do this work in the amount of $3,430. And basically, this work has to be done in order for them to submit their traffic impact study to VDOT to determine what and how many turn lanes are needed for building the access road into the Exit 77 development area.
Is that $34.30 a month?
No, that
It's for
would be.
one day.
No. That would be, the total cost is estimated not to, it would be $3,430.
This is a question. Under our term contract with them, did we have some hourly rates attached? I might not be understanding this, but it looks like to me that this is a study that's mandated that it must be for a period of time. For one day, and then a report. Is that not right?
I would agree with that, Mr. Hale, that it should be. I think their terminology they've got here, the compensation agreement conditional period of service not exceeding 12 months. And this project will take over 12 months. In fact, their project should be finished within about another 4 months of what they're doing. So that's just their standard language on it.
Well, the standard language reflects that the price is too high for me. You know, if they're not gonna work on it for 12 months, so it's not a $3,400 bill. I just ask you to go back to them and say, how did you come up with this number? I'll do it for $3,000.
Well, I'll give you the information that he had provided to me before they sent the proposal over here. They didn't get the information they wanted from VDOT. Our traffic engineers, it would take several weekends with current workloads, vacation times, et cetera, to cover the 10 intersections that are missing that information. In order to try and expedite this, he asked me for a quote from an outside firm to assist our team with the counts. The additional cost to cover the counts that were not provided, which is 1 to 2 hours Saturday peak at all 10 study intersections, comes to $3,430. The outside group would be covering 8 of the 10 intersections and indicated they could schedule this work as soon as this coming Saturday. The work will take 2 to 3 weeks. According to our traffic engineer, this scenario is less expensive and more efficient than us doing the counts with in-house resources. So they are trying to get this
Subbing the
done.
work.
They're subbing it to Malone and Associates. And they knew that we were trying to move ahead with this project as quickly as possible to start getting our lots graded so we could market them out there. So I am fine to go back if you want and talk to them about that in the process, but this was being subbed out to another firm.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation?
My recommendation is, in the essence of time and moving forward, that we proceed with this recommendation here.
Okay. You need a motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation.
And authorize county administrator to sign.
Yes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, or any other discussion? Hear none, Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
The chair votes aye.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Dunn County Attorney report, if you want to take a brief recess before you go into board time, or if you want to keep going.
Now, it's your pleasure, county attorney's report is out of the way, we've got that, so, we're near the end, let's forge on. Blackville District, Mr. Vaught?
I had a couple of things. Stephen, Pine Glade Road, same spot that I complained about last year, out by Heldress, is horrible. Potholes, and I don't know that they ever done anything, last year when I brought it up. Will you get with Mr. Fowler and see if we can't get some relief?
Yep.
And then I had somebody contact me about the park and ride in Fort Chiswell. I know it's VDOT property. They had a vehicle, they live in Wythe County, but they work at Volvo. They had a vehicle broken into. Is there any way we can get some lighting? I mean, that place has been it's a great resource for us, but it's been a problem for as long as I can remember. There's no lighting there, you know, people trash it up, vandalism, break in cars. I mean, even if the county has to pay for it, you know, for our citizens, can we not get some lighting up there or something? You know, you can patrol it all you want to in the middle of the night, but, you know, they see headlights, they're gonna duck down behind the car, and you know how those cars are stacked in there.
Yeah, so many of the new parking rides are curb and guttered and nice lighting and all that, so I'll send a request in to Mr. Russell and see what can be done at their expense first, and if not, what we can assist with from the taxpayers. Be glad to.
That's
Good
all,
idea.
that's all I've got.
West Whipple,
I have nothing at this time.
East Whipple.
I had a few concerns about the, school security guards, I believe they're calling them, Stephen. Correct me if I'm wrong, 3 of our school resource officers, due to the new laws in Virginia, are now going to be school security guards that the school board will manage, correct?
That is what has been worked, yes.
Okay. I had a few teachers concerned about a certain security guard that, where he is a bus driver, he will not be full-time in, well, you know, from 8 to 3 in the school. So I plan to talk to the school board about that, because I certainly hope that, I know we lose a lot of control, you know, with it when the school board's the one that's going to manage the program.
Yeah,
but-
the situation is not, I mean, it's a school board issue, but it's a Fair Labor Standards Act issue. It's the same thing that schools went through 15, 16 years ago with assistant coaches and everything else, and overtime requirements and all that. So, they're on a 180-day work cycle. They have a limited number of hours that employees can work under part-time. VRS does not allow them to, you know, if they weren't retired and not doing that VRS, but they can't become full-time. So, that is an issue that, they've got to work out, with the employee not being eligible to be a SSO, as I understand. There is limits from the school board side that they are working to address, but, they can't go to an overtime situation, they can't go to a full-time situation because he wants to stay retired. So I know they are looking at the matter, I don't know what the resolution is.
I realize it's an issue a little bit out of our control, but I hope that there's a way we can still keep him in the school from, you know, 8 to 3. We worked so hard on it last year for months and months to get these SROs, and I know we can't control what the state does, but I hope we can work that out. And then I had another citizen that was concerned about the wreck on Peppers Ferry Road and the basically the road, how the ditch lines, you know, if you run off the road, you go completely off the road. She said it's been an issue for years. I believe that is in the town limits though.
Yes.
Okay. And then, I told her I would give her an update on the connector road, so I'm glad, I'll be happy to go back and give her that. Can you give me a map of that road after this meeting?
Connector Road?
Yes. Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you. Next, what I'll do, Fort Chisholm District, mostly VDOT activities, we'll know in September, October whether special funding is available for the completion of Major Graham Road. If that happens, it's gonna complete it paved from 52 all the way to Red Hall Road. That had a traffic count of 1,290 vehicles. They're back over there now working on shoulder and ditch repair. It's very steep, and they have some stormwater issues that they're addressing. They finished all the current projects, I think, that were funded for this year. The Sheriff's Department's got back on the trash detail, and we've got, I don't know whether y'all noticed or not, but they picked up a tremendous amount of trash along the secondary roads. That's all I've got this time. The lead-lines, Coy.
I had some issues, but I give them to Mr. Bear, he took care of it, and I thank him for it.
Speedwell.
I've had a couple people call me. Actually, yesterday, I think I had 4 people call. And believe it or not, most of them, I think, were all different things. I had a couple people who were talking to me about the cannery. Evidently, they've closed it and haven't opened it because they don't have employees or something.
My understanding, they did have some difficulty getting employees. I met with the superintendent yesterday, and I think he advised me just that morning they had gotten word there were 3 part-time employees that would be starting immediately. So the cannery
Should be open.
should be open.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, if it's not, can we send them a letter saying we would appreciate it if they would open it?
But yeah, there was a couple questions going around about they closed the cannery or whatever, and it's been a matter of trying to get, part-time help with knowledge of running cannery operations to assist them.
That's
And
what I
that's a
said. That's
generation
what I
of-
said. You can't just throw anybody in there.
Well, you know, we saw this come out of the Tobacco Commission funding. I think we need to take a stand. Clearly, the cannery is not gonna close. There's only 13 canneries left in the whole state. 2 of them are in Russell County. They needed money, and the Tobacco Commission funded both of them. So the cannery is an asset that is a county responsibility, and I think all of us agree we have no desire to let it close. And can that statement get out from the Public Information Officer? Hiring people, you could say the same thing. We're not going to have Spanish this year because we can't find a Spanish teacher. Well, you're going to have to find a Spanish teacher. So that's the way the cannery is, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I know this is not the right time to bring this up, but I want to bring it up in case something would happen that I forget later or I'm not here. I had a guy asking about Edgewood Road, getting it paved,
Okay,
so.
it's already state maintained, but not hard surface.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's very short, right out the top of a ridge. I don't think it would be a major thing for VDOT to fix. And the other question that I had was somebody called me and wanted to know what's up with Ivanhoe Fire Department. What y'all find out? What's
Bring it up.
being done?
I think Coy was in this here. I didn't hear you.
What did y'all find out at Ivanhoe Fire Department when you went down there? What's being done about it?
We're giving the county administrators some latitude to work out a settlement.
We went down there, they went down there, I got down there later. There are some building concerns that we were looking at addressing in the process of things out there that need to be done. There is a recommendation of establishing a policy for all fire departments for use of the building to, and Mr. Crawford has drafted an initial draft of that he gave to me. Might have been this morning, maybe yesterday afternoon, give me initial draft. And that way, all departments understand if you're leasing out to other people or renting out to other people, just basically look the use of the building to have that for everyone. And then, obviously, the individual issues that are been concerns and brought up down there, staff is working with the fire department on trying to address those issues.
Okay.
Is that fair enough?
Good enough.
When we have another fire rescue committee, one of the recommendations gonna come out that the fire and rescue committee start moving their committee meeting to different fire stations, so we'll know whether they're taking care of the building or not. And I think that the protocol that Stephen's referring to, we need standards.
Right.
And all fire departments, since they are county buildings, will adopt those standards. We didn't find the dastardly conditions
Right.
that were proposed. That night after the last meeting, I got 4 phone calls of everything that's going on. Something happened to be the same time that little girl was drowned in the river. So Mr. McRoberts actually went up and verified that there wasn't any covert activity going on at the fire station. We got there the next day at noon.
They was down at, Burns Springs, hunting
That kid, that's why there were cars at the fire department. But then I got some pushback that we should have went down there that night. Whether people realize or not, this is a volunteer job. And to ask y'all to go down there at night.
And most of them are fire chiefs, they're not household women.
Anything else?
I think that's all I had wrote down on my list anyway.
Mr. Chairman, when he mentioned Edgewood, I did get a phone call this morning from Mr. Wright on Gap of the Ridge Road. Since it was deemed eligible for rural rustic, could it be added to the 6-year plan? And I did advise him that unless VDOT allows us to make a mid-year change for any funds that free up this year, it would be next spring before we can add any roads to the plan.
Well, that's what I told this guy, was he was about a month or 2 months late getting in touch with me on this, but this way it's in the minutes and hopefully it'll get added in the future.
Okay, is there any other business come before the board?
We've got to approve the consent calendar.
Did I miss the consent calendar?
Gotta go to new business now.
Yeah, new business, excuse me. I imagine that would have created chaos. New business, the consent calendar.
I make a motion, we approve the consent calendar as presented.
I second that.
Any discussion? Here none, all in favor?
I will mention, on the consent calendar, Mr. Grant's finance report is in there. Last month, we handed out the 11-month comparison of sales tax, meals tax, and occupancy tax. Those full year reports are in there if anyone wants to review those in the process.
Okay. Do we need a roll call vote on consent calendar?
No.
No, okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
We already voted on it.
Vote on it.
We can vote twice, it doesn't.
Okay, schedule joint meeting with school board.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned in the capital improvements planning earlier, and as we talked about previously, think it is ideal to go ahead and meet with the school board, and schedule a meeting with them. The school board has a meeting on the night of September 12th, that is already scheduled to be at George Wythe High School. Obviously, the construction wing is back open and there. The superintendent and I have discussed about meeting that night. Their meeting starts at 5 o'clock. Us possibly starting a joint meeting at 4 o'clock prior to the meeting, similar to what we did at Fort Chiswell last year. And have a meeting, discuss general issues, but also talk a little bit about the capital improvements plan and the next phases that we have. So would 4 o'clock on September 12th be acceptable for a joint meeting at George Wythe High School?
Everyone agree with that
Works for me.
consensus? Good.
Thursday.
I think it's really important that we continue to meet jointly with them and so we're on the same page. And hopefully, part of that will be a financial report of when some of this debt service is gonna go away and when we can afford to start these improvements. Okay?
The last item, Mr. Chairman, is Barron Springs property bids. We advertised for bids. They were due in on Friday at 2 o'clock. Mr. Bowers assisted with the opening of the bids, and I would recommend that you all recommend that the county attorney draft a deed to sell the property to the highest bidder, Mr. Samuel E. Carpenter.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion, second, Mr. Vaught, to accept the bids. How many bids did you have?
2 bids came in.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you all have held the public hearing on this matter already. I do not, basically, if Mr. McRoberts' motion is to accept this bid and for him to draft the documents, I would go ahead and, is there any other, the chairman will be signing, authorize the chairman to sign it as well, and we can go ahead and take care of that and not bring it back to you all for any further review.
Do you accept that amendment?
I do.
Okay. I'm sure you're going to straighten out all the language in that.
Yeah, basically the motion was
Make
to
sure
accept the
second.
bids.
Yes, sir.
Can we send a bill to the appraisers for it not bringing as much as it was appraised at?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion out of the way. All in favor, I guess we better call this one. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
Aye. Other, broad subject.
I have no other business, Mr. Chairman.
I believe Mr. Carpenter offered us more than that for that building a long time ago.
I believe we should have took it then.
Yep.
Here, no other business?